Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
All right, well, welcome back. Before we have our speaker, it's our tradition to go around and say our names to introduce ourselves. Maybe we should start in with the newcomer. What was your name?
My name is Tony.
Tony.
Marvin.
Ray.
Nariwish. Harley Shapiro.
Tom.
Dennis. Richard.
David.
Jack.
Jason. Lee.
Tom. Don.
Dean.
Jim.
Clint.
Lee.
Baruch.
Jim.
Cass.
George.
Steve.
Douglas.
Peter. Kay.
Gary.
Howard Deeport. Joe Good.
And I'm
Eric Poche.
Thank you. And I'm Peter. And is there anybody else over there who didn't say their name?
Bill.
Bill. You guys want to come and sit down before we start? All right. Today's speaker is Eric Poche. He's the Director of Volunteer Services and Training at the Zen Hospice Project and the Laguna Hospital Hospice Volunteer Program. Eric has many years of compassionate experience working with those in the process of dying, which he calls the great teaching of his life. A native of the Bay Area, he has been a student of the Dharma for many years, studying Zen and Vipassana. Please welcome Eric.
Thank you. I hope if you're recording this, you'll want to listen to it again later. I don't know if you'll be very much want to hear it again. It's interesting. Well, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me here. There's a few people sitting here that I've known for a while, and some people shortly. It's good to be in this room. I haven't been here in many years, and it's changed a bit. It looks better. So, I began as a caregiver about 1980, the early beginnings of the AIDS epidemic. It was still called GRID in those days. We didn't know how it was transmitted. We just knew that our community was affected. And what I did was make a choice. It was the beginning. I made many choices in my life, but this was the beginning of a truly significant choice in my life. Because one had the choice to leave the community, to go elsewhere, to pursue one's life in a different way. But one also had the choice to stay. So I did. And as a result, I began to learn a great deal over the years of how to be with myself, as well as how to be with others. So I'm going to speak a little bit today about kindness, because this has been the great lesson in my life. What I have learned and cultivated in my life about kindness. And I intentionally don't use the term loving kindness, because it's kindness for me is enough. It's a deep contemplation for me. It happens for me all the time, and I've thought about it in many ways, and I've experienced it in many ways. Sometimes I've been successful, and sometimes I have not been successful. I look at kindness a little bit differently from niceness. And I know niceness has a bad rap these days. No one wants to be thought of as nice. But I think nice is good. Nice is social lubrication. We're nice in order to achieve something, to attain the goal. We want people to be happy, to be well fed, to be pleasant with each other. We use niceness to make things more comfortable for ourselves and for others, hopefully. But kindness is something else. Kindness is less of a goal than it is, for me, a place of embodiment. I think of the Roman viharas as the heavenly abodes, and the word abode to me means inner. Where we hold ourselves, where we are, and that for me is a place where kindness can exist. I was looking at the near and far hindrances or enemies of kindness, one of which is affection, being the near enemy, and hatred, being the far enemy. So I was thinking to myself, well, I don't hate. I never hate. I never allow myself to think about hating people. But the more you think about it, we know how to do it. I know how to be hateful. I know you can't believe it looking at me, but it's true. But I don't have to be. And I think what's important is to know that we do have choices to make in our lives. My choice is to contemplate kindness for the rest of my life. That's the path that moves me. But I've come to really respect the hindrances as indicators. Because if I'm feeling hatred, I feel clenched. I feel upset, I'm distracted, I'm not fully myself. I want to change things, I want to get angry, I want to get rid of it in some way. These are very powerful emotions. That doesn't mean I'm going to run down the street brandishing a weapon, but I can use this against myself. I can hold it. I can lose opportunities because I'm allowing myself to indulge in hate. But as I practice with kindness, I've come to understand that I can default to kindness when I feel hate coming up. It becomes easier and easier to not get taken up by it. It's really important, I think, for us to acknowledge that we have the potential for everything. All of our, at least it's important to me, all of my faults and bumps and wrinkles and things, because in some ways it's a part of my character, and it's important to have that. Now, when I talk with people, I really prefer discussion over just lecture. So I'm just going to give a few remarks, and I really would like to have a discussion with you to see how this is true or not true in your lives, to see what it is that kindness can evoke for you. I remember I was sitting with a woman who was drinking a cup of tea out of a nice, fine china cup, and an elderly woman, and she drank it and she placed the cup back on the saucer. She did it with such elegance and such focus that I felt a wave of kindness. I wondered about that. What was it about that image, that experience that opened me up? And that's what kindness does for me. It opens me up. It opens up a place of potential, a place of less judgment, a place of less explanation. a place of just being true with what the experience is in this moment. So it's what I try to cultivate, and I try to do it every day, and then I try to be aware when I'm not doing it as well. Because Pema Chodron uses this phrase, which I recently discovered and have come to really like a lot. She was talking about Maitri, but she described it as unconditional friendship. The unconditional friendship with oneself. And how do you do that? How do you give yourself full permission, full friendship, full, appreciation for, wow, I can really care in a way that's so open and warm for me. Or I can really not care. I can really get angry. I can really be sad. I can really feel a sense of loss in my life. And I can really acknowledge the connection that I can have in being immediate with my experience. And for me, that's what this practice of kindness is about, is learning how to be more and more and constantly immediate with my experience. It's sort of, when we look at the places where we fail, if we really look at them, we realize that it's not failure. It's, this didn't quite work, this wasn't quite skillful, this is what we can do to allow it to be true and then move on from there. And kindness isn't always accepted by everyone you want to feel it towards, or you're learning something new. Maybe you're sitting with someone, and a lot of my references are going to be from my hospice experience. I've been doing this a long time, and so it's very much a part of my life. A lot of my references are to being at the bedside, to being present with people. I think what I'm getting at is, with kindness, it's a matter of not needing an outcome, not deciding, well, I want to be kind to this person, so they should appreciate it. They should know I'm being kind, and they should act accordingly. They should say thank you. They should want me to come back because I'm just being kind. I'm practicing my kindness. And maybe the lesson is that to allow yourself to just simply persist in being kind. That's why, for me, I think it's I know it's become the practice of my life, because it's not a done deal. I'm not a kind person, but I've found something in the practice of kindness that has allowed me to be larger, more open, more available to so many things that I was not 20 years ago. 20 years ago, during when I was with the Shanti Project, a lot of my motivation had to do with fear and anger and the need to fix. This should not be happening, we need to fix it, got to do something. And I wasn't even at that point aware of the richness of Buddhist practice. I was aware of Buddhism because, read about it, thought about it, heard about it. But it wasn't until I began to embody some practices. And the one that has really come forward for me is kindness. And I generally don't tell people that I'm being kind to them. Because they don't like to hear that. No one wants to feel that they're being, he's just being kind. But curiously enough, I've had people come up to me with whom I've had no immediate interaction and say, "You are a kind person," and I'm wondering, what is that? What do they mean? And I think what it is, it's like with that teacup. It's just being present in the moment and being focused on what I was doing in a focused and mindful way. That people feel comfortable. They feel, oh, this is someone, somewhere in my body that I'm responding because I feel at ease with this person. There's an image I'd like to offer you. And this is a definition of compassion, also from Pema Chodron, who I'm very fond of, as you may guess. And the way she stated it was very striking to me. She said, the image of compassion is a mother without arms and a child that has fallen into the river. And I thought about that, and then I watched myself react to that. I thought, well, what would I do if I were a mother without arms? I'd jump in and save the child with my legs. Of course, you need to kick to swim, but that's not the point. Or I would shoulder the child back onto, all of this stuff, and that wasn't the point of the image. It's like a koan. It needs to reveal itself within your being. And she talked about the courage to feel pain, to feel loss. And so when I look at kindness, I think of it as it's not a nice thing to do. It's not something that's going to change the world, but it's a place where I can begin to cultivate an openness in myself. And sometimes I totally forget. I really do. Not excessively, I have to say. I don't tend to stay angry for long. I don't have that long a memory. And I'm not a physically reactive person. But the feelings are true, and I know where they are. And they're lessons for me. They're opportunities for me. As long as I'm breathing, I have an opportunity to default to kindness, and hopefully for myself. And at the end of my life, I hope I have that practice pretty well in hand. Who knows? We'll see. So, having said that,
so it brought up several things for me. One was that probably for most of us here, the problem is not the true enemy, cruelty, but the near enemy, indifference. At least that's my experience. Secondly, something from the other group that I go to, the Gay Men's Buddhist Sangha, somebody who spoke recently was about slowing down and letting other people go first. Mm-hmm. Like for parking places, which I'm not quite up to yet, but I'm working on it. And being present, so one knows what is needed. But the third thing, which is what I wanted to ask if perhaps you might comment on, is Kalyana Mitra, or spiritual friendship, something that I'm hoping to maybe see arise in this group or the other group as a focus. I wondered if you might have anything to say about that.
I'm not familiar with that term. Can you say more about what that means?
Well, as I understand it, spiritual friendship it's kind of ordinary friendship, with kindness in particular, but done better. Mm-hmm. Doing the things we would like to do as friends, but don't always succeed in doing, and using some of the practices and principles of Buddhism to support a truer kind of friendship, which I think is very centered around kindness.
Mm-hmm. What comes up for me in hearing you say that is taking refuge in the Sangha. And that doesn't mean being nice to each other. It means holding each other accountable to the Sangha, to the beliefs of the Sangha, to that which maintains the integrity of the Sangha, to avoid those hindrances or those things that are harmful to the integrity of the Sangha. So I think of that as spiritual friendship. Sometimes they say, well, only your best friends can tell you when you're not well. And that's because I believe they know what it means to be not well. But they also know you can trust that they're telling you this for your own good. And I think taking refuge in the Sangha is to be able to hear what is being said and see this as my gift to you. Does that address it a bit? Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm not going to remember your names at this point, so...
My name's Richard.
Richard?
Yeah, thanks for your time. I think if you asked me, I would identify myself as a kind person. I try to do kind things every day. Normally, I suspect that I'm doing kind things because I want people to be kind back to me in return.
Mm-hmm.
Like that British thing of let's all be polite to each other. Or that I have other motives for being kind, like wanting somebody to like me or whatever. How do you get beyond that? And
I don't know that we have
what's
to.
your motive for how do you get to a point where there's no motive for kindness?
I don't know that we have to get beyond that. I think those are really wonderful motivations for kind acts in the world. And I think that kind acts in the world sort of ripple out, I strongly believe that. There's this commercial on television, you've probably seen, where there are this series of acts that are kind of where someone picks up something that someone has dropped, and someone prevents someone from being hit by a car, and on and on. But each person, this, like you and I, there's an act of kindness between us, that you have done something for me, and then I would move on to Don, and see what I mean? So it's sort of round robins, And I had no idea what this commercial is selling. But the image, I think, is very, very powerful. And I think it's important. But I think that for kindness is, I want it to be an automatic default. So I'm not worrying about it. I know that if I feel anger, my body will clench. I want to know the place of kindness, the softness, And I don't mean, laziness. I mean that place where there is a warmth and a possibility for me to respond from. I was sitting with a resident recently, and this is a Chinese woman who speaks no English. And she, that doesn't keep her from talking to you. But I have no idea what she's saying. But, so I was just sitting with her and she was talking to me, and I was just acknowledging her energy and what she was saying. And we were holding hands, and the conversation got really intense. I mean, not anger, but she was really transmitting something to me. And while we were holding hands, she was feeling my hands, and it was like, in that moment, we were sharing a kind of kindness, an immediacy, a presence, that when it was over, I felt so expanded. You see what I mean? I think that's the kindness that I'm looking for when I speak of kindness. There are many different kinds, and you're talking perhaps about a reciprocal kindness, which I think is important. But I'm also looking for a kindness where there's no language. It doesn't happen here, it happens in here. and it can. And I would just like for it to happen more and more and more. I think one of the things I've learned with working in hospice too is that as people get older and more ill, they lose the ability for normal social interaction. You know, so to build a place where it doesn't matter about the language, it doesn't matter about the action, it really matters about that immediate connection, soul to soul, if you will. That I think is a very powerful place and a very powerful gift. It is for me, and I want to believe that it is also for this person I was with, and for people that I'm able to communicate with in that way. You know? And one of the things that has really encouraged me is that the more I do it, the more faith I have in it. You know what I mean? The more I'm able to just find this place where I'm comfortable, you know, just breathing into that openness of kindness, I can go back there again and again. I have faith that this has value. And I think that's a treasure.
So you don't question your intention at all?
Not when it comes to kindness. If I'm having an intention, if I'm thinking about something, this is the way it has to go, then what else is attached to that? You know, am I setting myself up for, well, if it doesn't go that way, I'm going to be pissed off, disappointed, feel failure. You know, well then, no, I don't want to go into that place because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, and then what happens is you pull away from that space of kindness. You know, because then you have to qualify it. Well, it didn't work last time, so maybe it won't work again. So I want to try it again. Or maybe I'll try it this way. Or you see what I mean? When it becomes an exercise of the mind, then we can be trapped.
So you recognize it and just turn it off?
I recognize it and allow it to be true, but I don't need to act on it. Yeah. That's what I mean too about we can make choices. You know, sometimes it's good to choose to raise your voice because you need to get a point across. But sometimes it's good to choose not to. You know, and to take responsibility for the choice you've made. So it's not about you being a bad person, you know, or a good person. It's about you having made a choice and taking responsibility for it and its outcome. And that to me is a real gift too, because I was brought up a Catholic. You know, Catholics are just flogged with guilt. I mean, we know how to do this very well, but it's not skillful ultimately. You know, it's not useful ultimately. You know, it brings on distraction and a lack of skill. And I think that's one of the things about the church that finally didn't work for me, is that the skill of one's action was not looked at more deeply. Whereas in Buddhism, you know, your experience is your experience, and what you hold and understand, that's your dharma. You know? So, yeah.
Good morning. Thank you for your talk. Appreciate it. It's a great segue to my question. Based on your Buddhist experience and background, to talk about choice. I mean, for example, why do you think you are able to choose kindness and others choose hatred? From Buddhist experience, you know, what is choice? How much is choice and non-choice? But those were your opening comments, and it really struck me. I've been sitting with it a while. But why do you think you chose kindness as a path and others choose hatred as a path?
That's an interesting question. What just popped into my head is I think because I try to have a sense of humor about myself. You know, I think hatred does not allow for much humor, you know, because you have to sit on it and work it, And I'm lazy. It's much easier to be at ease. I've been very fortunate in teachers in my life. People who have helped me to cultivate in my life an acceptance of self, a friendship with myself. And I don't consider myself to be a Buddhist. I consider myself to be a student of the Dharma. And the reason why I make that distinction is that when, as a Buddhist, you have certain things to live up to. If you tell someone that you're a Buddhist, they have questions. You know, you tell someone you're a student of the Dharma, they don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it gives you a lot more freedom.
Yeah, don't pin me down.
Yeah. But I think that maybe I just pay a little more attention. And I am, because I've worked for so long with people at the end of their lives, and I understand, really deeply understand, there is no time to waste. And hatred is a waste of time. And no one profits from that, ultimately. So I just, it doesn't work. Moving on. Now, if you had asked me that 20, 30 years ago, I might have a different answer. But age gives you a lot of leeway, you know. Thank you.
Just a quick question. What do you think affection? I want to make sure I heard you right. Affection is near enemy of kindness.
I have no idea what they mean by affection, so I have to think about it. Affection, I think, has to do with projection. You know what I mean? So, and a near enemy is not like, you know, the word enemy has a charge to it for us. An enemy, oh, beyond art. But I think it can also be looked at as, pay attention. You know? If we bring affection into a moment with someone, we're bringing in expectation. You know? I really care about you, therefore you need to hear what I'm saying and understand it, and I'm going to hear what you're saying and understand that. So there's like a little scenario attached to it. You know, it's not a crime, but it's there. And that's one of the things about the hindrances that I really love, is that we live in a culture where it's all black and white. You know, it's either good or it's bad. You know, but it's just something to pay attention to. So am I operating out of affection, and what kind of affection is this? Or am I operating out of kindness? And for me, kindness is a vast openness. You know, it doesn't have to result in anything. It's just being with the experience. It's like with the mother, the armless mother and the child in the river. To just simply stay with the image and see what that feeling is the whole point of that story. It's not about, oh, this is what you need to do, here's where you need to go. You're simply staying with it. So I think affection, you know what it's like if you begin to build affection towards someone and it's not being reciprocated, so that it could be unbalanced. Well, maybe you don't know. Well, I do.
No, I know.
And so what happens is then I can pay too much attention to, oh, well, I did something wrong, or there's something wrong with them, or, so it becomes a distraction from simply being free of that and being present with kindness.
Do you develop feelings of affection through some of the people you work with in the hospital?
Absolutely. But with that, my practice is to hold it like this, not like this. When I see myself clutching, then I know that I'm not being skillful. When it's like this is part of me. I know how to do this. I'm a human being with a need to be affectionate. But I can also be a human being who doesn't need to be affectionate and still be kind.
Thank you.
I've been pondering kindness in relation to being in service.
In relation to
being in service to others.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard that word service used here. The times that I have stepped forward to volunteer, whether it's on the board of directors or doing something simple as hosting the little crumpets here at break, it's really from a place, it's out of really desire to be in service to my community, to others, from a place of gratitude, so forth and so on. So, and I've actually thought of myself about volunteering in hospice. But just kind of, if you could maybe comment on that notion of service and how it relates to kindness.
For me, kindness does not preclude service. Service is really important. It's important for me if I'm a person who is underserved in whatever form, be that by the people in my life, by my health, by whatever it is, to find someone who is willing to help me, to serve me, to give me a sense of well-being, a sense of being seen, is really important. But kindness doesn't, for me, it's not either or. Obviously, if I was a Shanti volunteer for 10 years, service is something I really value. And I see my work now as a service too. But it's what I do in the world, in community, but the cultivation of kindness is what I'm doing for myself and the greater experience of the world for me. I think that service is like, we can do it in little ways. We can do, service can be opening a door for an elderly person. Service can be giving, returning a ball to a child when the ones went out into the street. Service can be voting, however you vote. It's service to the community. Service can be any number of things, but there are actions. There is something tangible about service. That's how we know, right? But for me, that doesn't preclude kindness. Kindness is that place that I just simply am. Yeah? That's it. Yeah. Hey, Don.
Hi. I realized a long, long time ago, the thought came to me in meditation or something, that an experience I had when I was about 20 or so, maybe 22, of being in a very, very poor neighborhood in New York City. I'd already been working with kids there, and really just feeling deeply the illness, the oppression, or especially through the kids that I saw. And I was so moved, feeling that I could do something about that, and wanting to do something about that. And now, it's in relation to where I am now, where I feel there's a need on my part to do this, to, I'm working with, I spent a long time working with gay prisoners, doing something for gay prisoners. Then now I'm working in Friends Service Committee, working with GIs, and also a few other things, a couple of others, including just doing a sound vigil every week, which is once a week for now, the Quakers have organized. Mm-hmm. But I have a need to do this. I don't know that I ever chose to do it. I really don't think that I chose to do this. I also nurtured by it, I can want it, I'm sure I get some ego, but not altogether. So I had a little trouble with your idea of the choice. Mm-hmm. Seems to be more than a choice. Of course, I could choose not to do it. I'm guilty. That's why I could say that. I do. I feel that sometimes I'm not doing enough, or I could be doing this, or I'm consumed with hatred for George Bush. That's just whatever.
A little something on the side.
A little something on the side. No, yeah, well, some hot poker on the side. Whatever.
Very
I
colorful.
don't know if you can comment on the idea of choice. I don't see choice very often in terms of what I do. I might not be seeing myself very clearly. I don't know, but that's something. Say to you, I don't know. What do you say?
I think what I feel in this moment is that when we acknowledge that we have a choice and that we are making a choice, we're fully present for that. Some of what you said is like, okay, I've developed a habit, and this is the habit that I have of being generous, of wanting better for people, of being kind to people. You see what I mean? So you don't see it as a choice. But every moment you have that choice. You have the choice whether or not to do what you said to George Bush. You may not have the opportunity, but nonetheless. But you see what I mean? But you also have the choice not to say that, but you chose to. So I do believe that we do have a choice. But sometimes we fall into a habit of, well, this is what I do. And I've noticed that being on the ward for me at Laguna Honda, there are ways of being in habit. Whenever I see this person, I'm going to sit down and talk to them, or probably whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes, if I can stop for a moment and think and understand, I'm consciously doing this now. I'm fully here doing this now. There's a different response. There's a different feeling that I have. You see what I mean? Yeah.
When you're lucky, that happens every once in a while, so to speak. For me, instead of thinking about what I'm doing or what it means, or in terms of, am I doing it to be voluntary?
Mm-hmm. And I think when we
I get those real clear, transcendent feelings that this is ooh.
I think one of the things too in making the choice is that we have the opportunity to come with the beginner's mind. I've never done this before. This is the first time I've seen this person offer this cup of coffee, which is very different than saying, have a cup of coffee. Have a cup of coffee is good. It's part of the relationship you have, but when you're offering a cup of coffee, there's more of you present in that moment.
I want to do a little sales pitch just to say, having volunteered at hospice for a year and a half, one of the richest experiences I ever had. And maybe there's other people who have done it too. I don't know. You have so many friends. But I would just suggest that to the group, that it is one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had in my life. Just experience, because the opportunity to experience what you're talking about and understand deeper.
Yeah,
I recommend everybody go.
It's a great opportunity for practice. I know of no better person. Can I, just as gentleman, then come back, please?
Over the last 10 years or so, I've been involved with caregiving for family members, and so much of the time I see myself in this mode of feeling a lot of responsibility and feeling a sense of being overwhelmed by the caregiving responsibilities and everything that has to be done, and it feels very restricted, very tight, very closed in. And when I'm in that state of mind, it's not the love and the kindness and the openness that I want to have in the last years of my parents' life. And I'm just wondering whether, probably in your situation too, you're in situations where a million things have to be done and people are upset, and you get so focused on the task that you lose the openness of the love and the kindness in that moment, and how you manage to handle things but still get back into an open, expansive place.
Thank you. I think one of the things I've learned is I'm not responsible for everything, and I can only do one thing at a time. Not easy. When you've got several people, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, or you anticipate this need here, or if I don't do this, this is going to happen, that type of thing. And but maybe the one thing at a time is just 10 seconds of breathing, or 10 seconds of really listening, or 10 seconds of saying, I'm doing a good job today. One of the things about caregivers is they don't take care of themselves, and they don't accept praise easily, or acknowledge it. Do you feel that's true?
My parents are pretty thankful, but yeah, I think I'm doing an okay job, even though it's very difficult for me.
When you say difficult, what time is what is your name, please?
I'm David.
David, what is David's time? David's caring.
While I'm involved in the caregiving, I try to. Well, I'm always trying to be conscious of get back to the breath, so I don't get lost in my head and be more in the moment. I'm conscious of taking breaks in caregiving, going out, seeing a friend, going to a movie, taking breaks from it. I also, when I'm involved in caregiving, also try to find things that I can do with my parents that are different than doctor appointments or a project. It's something that's very kind of more bonding, like we watch a movie we like together, or we play little cards, or something that isn't stressful. So I try different.
What are the moments of overwhelm?
The what?
The moments of overwhelm.
What are they?
Yeah.
Usually it centers around having so many things that need to be done for them that I feel like I don't have enough time, or they're very difficult, or one of my parents or my siblings is very upset, crying, screaming over something, and feeling this need to calm people down, or bring back some equanimity or to the situation. Kind of a combination of many things to do, not enough time, many difficult things to do, and people being very upset and emotional while you're trying to do things.
Yeah. I was listening for that place that is without that for you, that place of kindness, that place of permission. Also, I think that we have a debt to our parents, and we want to fulfill it. And so they would do this for me if the shoe was on the other foot, kind of thing. But that's anticipating a scenario. When someone is impatient with you, or your siblings are not cooperative, what do you want to tell them, and do you? Because sometimes that's the only chance you get, is just to express yourself. It's not going to change the circumstances, but do people really hear? And how do they hear it? I have two sisters. One I can be very frank with, and the other I have to be very careful. You know what I mean? You have to learn how to get the information across. So, what is it that you want most in this circumstance?
I guess I want to be more at peace with whatever is coming down the road, and I want them to have peace and joy in the remainder of their life. And I want them to have good quality
So those are three things. The first one is really possible because you can do it. The second one is their responsibility. And the third one is what you can work on together by agreement. So what I'm trying to do is just give you a sense of when you look at it as so many elements, to break them down into which is mine, which is ours, and which is theirs. You see what I mean? I moved to Vallejo almost 10 years ago when my father died. And I moved to take care of my mom. And part of what I learned in my process was just that. To allow her to be and do what she was going to do, even though it didn't make sense to me, or I found it dangerous, or but also what the things that we had to do together for her quality of life, and what about the parts of me that allowed me to continually be present. It's not easy. It's really not easy. And I don't know what kind of support system you have with your siblings or other people. And it's hard to say what... It's impossible for me to say this is the support system you should get. You see what I'm saying? But it is possible for you to think and to stop and to allow yourself to say, well, let me try this. Let's try this. Let them try that. Just one more aside. One of the things that I've learned in working with people, who are elderly, they're still living their lives. They've still got the right to do whatever foolishness they're going to do. And they don't need to die in a good way. They're just going to die. But being present for how they are in their lives can be a real education and a wonder. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Tom.
Yes. How do you set boundaries on or limits on your kindness when you encounter someone who has an unending need for your attention, who is I don't want to say ungrateful, because that implies that I'm only being kind, to get their thanks. But someone who might be toxic or just really a very negative person. How do you put a limit on your kindness, or how do you deal with that, or walk away, or?
I don't see it as putting a limit on my kindness, but I do see it as putting the boundaries that are safe for me and for my relationship with that person. If someone's behavior is such that all I'm going to get is angry around them, or have aversion, then we're not having a relationship that is good for me. And they're not profiting from this. If a person's capable of hearing it, I will say, this doesn't work. This is what I propose that can work. Or, I can't be around you. It's too much. I'm not the person to do this with you. And it's easy to say. The deeper or the more long-term your relationship, the harder it can be. But you have to start somewhere. And it can be in little things. Like, not while I'm moving out tomorrow, but I need to have a place in this living situation where I really feel safe and comfortable. And you can't invade it. I need to know that the dishes are going to be washed. Or whatever it is. I'm just,
So you're talking about being kind to yourself.
Absolutely. We have to start there. Because it's in here that you're going to be experiencing kindness. You can't be kind to other people if you're like this. You have to be able to breathe into that space where this feels good, this feels good. And that's what I mean by not withdrawing your kindness from someone, but experiencing your kindness so that it starts here and it can expand out to that person. And sometimes the kindness you feel is, it's been great fun. But whatever's going on is not profitable for either one of us. So I need to move on. How are we time-wise, by the way?
We have about 90 seconds left.
Too short. Please.
I have some friends, and one of the guys is very good Catholic boy, very kind, very nice, and his partner's a therapist. And when the nice one comes home and is sort of ratty and nasty, the therapist says, "Oh, you must have been really nice today," as if he just used up all his positive stuff and was free to finally spray some shadow energy on some cool runaway screaming. Do you find a reflex within yourself that sometimes you've overextended your kindness and there's a shadow looms, or does that not happen when you come from true presence?
I'm no paragon. I'm no paragon. One of the things I tell and Dean can attest to is that when I interview people for our training for the hospice, I ask people to hold for themselves a 6th hour. That's my term for it. In other words, it's a period of time that gives you the permission to reflect on what your day is about, what your feelings are, what's going on for you, and to find a place that's just yours, your own space. And it changes a lot. Right now, if I know that I really need space, when I decide, instead of going up 80 to return to Vallejo, I go up 101. Because when I turn on to Highway 37, there's a space there that I have come to use as a symbol for breathing, for acknowledgement. And so that's what I do. And that's not the only time I do it, but I do know the value of holding the space where I am precious. My feelings are really valid. And if they didn't get recognized before because I didn't have the time, or that I needed them to be recognized by someone else, I can recognize it now. And sometimes it works beautifully. Sometimes I need to work on it. I'll go home and sit, listen to my children, listen to music I like. A place where I can find the space where I'm really at home. That's it.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you. And I very much appreciate your distinction between being a Buddhist and being a student of the Dharma.
That's about all the time we have. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you so much.
And now it's time for announcements. Are there any announcements? Go ahead, Mark.
Well, as I mentioned before, I'm the host for today, and there's help yourself to tea, and there's some little things to nosh on, and clean up your cup after you're finished, and there will be a donor bowl. Suggested donations $5 to $8 if you care to give, and a bunch of people sometimes meet at the end around 12:30 to go out for lunch. And I'm a little unclear about the roster thing. If there's a place to sign up, or I didn't hear that.
Is there a roster?
There's a place to sign up, or
yes, there are pink sheet. There's a pink sheet if you want to be on the mailing list or on the directory. Indicate whether you want just the newsletter as an email, or if you want a hard copy, or if you want both. And there are some directories, the white sheets with names and contact information of people who come here. You're welcome to take a copy of that.
Jim.
Yeah, these fabulous trifolds here are the gift and the product of Mr. Marvin Snow, who has done a beautiful job. This is going to serve many purposes. What is your concept with this?
Well, it's a draft document for your review. Give me any feedback you like. It's thought that these would be available, if not on your cushion, it might be, or in the outer room for each Sunday, especially for new people coming in
In the middle of the trifold, you can find the program that some people are unfamiliar with it when they get here. There's a welcome. There's also a portion of the trifold that invites participation. There are a lot of opportunities for people to participate as well as attend. And in addition, on the back, it draws attention to our website, which is a really great resource. And many people, even regular attendees, I don't think get as much value out of that as they could. We're inviting you to take it if you want, but we would like them recycled. And we'll be using them from week to week. There'll be a box by the Donna Bowl where you can deposit them. It's also an advanced copy of a trifold that will be giving out at the Castro Street Fair in September, right, Clint?
I think it's October.
October, sorry, October. So that's the intention. Any feedback will be greatly appreciated.
Good work, Nikki.
Also about the website, Joe Kukoka, who is our webmaster, has done a fabulous job re-envisioning it and retooling it from the inside out. It's going to be much more user-friendly. I really recommend that you go to www.gaybuddhist.org and check it out. And he deserves a lot of things. This is silent labor behind the scenes, and it's been in a beta version for some time, but now it's just gone up this week. So check it out. It also has a calendar, so you can check it there to see who's going to be speaking.
It wasn't updated.
It is now.
Any other announcements?
Speaker for next week is Tom Moon. He's a practicing psychotherapist in San Francisco. He's a member of our Sangha. And I believe he is going to be talking about depression and working with depression in Buddhism.
Any other announcements? Okay, well then we'll stand in a circle and have a dedication there. Eric, do you have a dedication that you like to use? We have one in our folder if you don't have any that you're fond of. Would you like to read it?
Well, thank you. By the power and truth of this practice, may all beings have happiness and causes of happiness. May all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all never be separated from the sacred happiness which is without sorrow. And may all live in equanimity, without too much attachment or too much aversion, and live believing in the equality of all that lives.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.